Rick Leventhal, more with you throughout the day here as it develops. Thank you, Rick. Here's Martha.
So let's get more now on this grand jury decision, the protests, the reaction from elected officials and civil rights activists. New York Congressman Peter King joining us now from Capitol Hill. Good morning to you, sir. Good to have you with us this morning. You're getting a lot of criticism today, Congressman King, because you say that you agree and you think they did their job, this grand jury, and you agree with their findings, correct?
That is absolutely correct. Let me say at the start, though, I have full compassion for the Garner family. I understand their family's reaction, and they're entitled to take whatever legal action they feel is necessary. Having said that, from my knowledge of the case, there was absolutely no element of racism here, and there was no intent by the police officer to cause any type of deadly harm or physical harm at all to the decedent here, to Mr. Garner. Let's keep several things in mind here. One, that the senior officer at the scene was an African-American female sergeant. She was there the entire time, or certainly during the time we see in the video. Secondly, the reason the police officers came in to make this arrest was because the local business people in the minority community of Tompkinsville went to police headquarters and said that Brown was causing disturbances over the previous several weeks and was driving customers away. He was becoming a problem in the neighborhood, and the police went in to stop him, and he resisted arrest. This would have been a misdemeanor arrest. The police made almost 250,000 misdemeanor arrests in New York City last year. This was the only fatality. When they went to make the arrest and Brown resisted, they wanted to bring him to the ground and subdue him as quickly as possible, and that's the way it's done in those cases, to get it done as quickly as possible. All right, but to put his hands behind his back.
But here's the question, and it comes down to excessive force, because the police, their job is to take him into custody, as you just said. And it appears that they, there's a point when there's a hand or a knee on the side of his head, and he was not, he kind of put his hands up, please, don't mess with me, kind of conversation going on, and they get him down on the ground, and they have him there enough for him to say, I can't breathe, 11 times. So I think that's what a lot of people are questioning here. How could they have not taken him into custody before this moment?
Because he was resisting arrest. That's the whole idea. They kept saying, put your hands behind your back. And let me make a point here, Martha. Right, 11 times he said, I can't breathe. Well, the fact is, if you can't breathe, you can't talk. If you've ever seen somebody arrested, and unfortunately I've seen it a few times, where a person is resisting arrest, they're always saying, you're breaking my arm, you're killing me, I'm dying. If the police officer had let him go at that time, the whole thing would have started all over again. The idea, if you're outweighed more than 2 to 1, remember, there's an African-American sergeant was there while this was going on. The idea was to bring him down, and there's been almost 250,000 arrests made last year. This was the one that went bad. And again, if Brown had not been resisting, the reason they're holding him down on the ground is you have to subdue someone to get their hands behind their back.
It's my understanding that whole episode, the actual physical part of this takes about a minute. When they take Mr. Garner down, there's about a minute of that struggle. And I'm also, would be very curious to see the grand jury testimony, because there's a number of reasons that were given by the medical examiner that could have contributed to the death, and it's possible to see that the grand jury may have looked at all of that, and it includes not asphyxiation as a cause of death, which would be what the chokehold would cause. Compression to the chest, obesity, weak heart, and they may have said that there were just so many complicating factors in this that the
And also, Martha, let me make clear, there was no damage to the windpipe and no damage to the neck.
Correct.
If he had not been obese, did not have diabetes, did not have asthma, this would not have happened. Now, the cops didn't know that. He didn't know that was going to happen. Nobody intended this to happen. I'm sure nobody feels worse, other than the family themselves, than the police officer. The last thing they want to do at a time like this is to cause any type of injury, certainly a fatality.
Let me ask you another question about this Lucy cigarette law, because there's a lot of discussion about that, too. Why on earth do we have a law that you can't sell loose cigarettes on the street? It seems that the police have plenty to keep them busy in New York City without worrying about that.
Okay, first of all, don't blame the cops for that. That was the local community, and this goes back to the whole quality of life thing, that if you allow someone to flagrantly violate the law and
What did they say he was doing in the neighborhood? What was he doing that they wanted the police to come check him out?
And it was, by the way, it's my understanding, it was the chief of the department, who was an African-American, who told the police to go in there. That by him standing outside the store, he was disrupting the community, he was preventing customers from coming in, and he was selling cigarettes that people were not able to sell in their convenience stores. If you have a legitimate legal convenience store and you're selling cigarettes in there, and this person is outside violating the law, but this goes back to what started in 1993 with the quality of life. You can't have people spitting on your windshield, you can't have people jumping over the turnstiles. As minor as those crimes seem, once you allow that to happen, It's a breakdown, and that's what I think. Remember, there's been 80% reduction in deaths in New York, in murders in New York City, and the largest reduction is among the African Americans, and that's because of the NYPD.
Peter King, thank you, sir. Good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So